Hey everyone, it's Grayson, and today you're listening to the Capability Podcast. I am just so excited to finally be doing this. I've had this idea for a very long time, and well, before I get into it and explain everything, once again, my name is Grayson. If you don't know me or you haven't met me, you know that I tend to talk very fast and I just throw in or like or just things like that um when I am talking so fast and I don't know what I want to say and I'm just not ready to speak and I just kind of go rapidly. But someone just recently told me that I was talking to go slow and think about what you want to say so that you don't have to throw in like. So, I'm going to be talking slower than my normally pace. I'm sorry, my normal pace for this. So, bear with me. What this podcast is going to be, once I'm also a 15-year-old, so context. What this podcast is going to be is me basically telling you guys different stories, perspectives, lessons I've learned throughout my life, which has been very short so far, aspirations I have, etc. I obviously don't have any listeners right now because this is my first episode, but I'm hoping to grow it to something and like have a community from this. So, yeah. Today I want to tell you guys about the reason why on my 12th birthday in 6th grade I was sobbing in front of the class. That's where I'm going to start with this. So, I might bounce off to other things. Not sure if that's going to give me my full time that I want to max out as much as I can with this, at least half an hour per episode. So, we're going to start with that. And I'm going to tell you guys not only this crazy story, but also it's a lesson now, a lesson and a learning experience, like most things. So, here's the story. When I was in 5th grade, I I went to this elementary school that I had gone to since kindergarten, so I went all 6 years, and it was it was pretty popular, I think one of the bigger ones in my area, one of the nicer ones. A lot of kids went there, and it was part of the local school district, so everyone went to the same couple middle schools, which most of them were inside the school district, and I obviously had all of my friends that I had had for basically my whole life at that point. I mean, that was exciting. Like, I was excited to go to middle school and be with all my friends. But what ended up happening was my mom got a job at the middle school that everyone was going to and that I wanted to go to. And at the same time, my sister started going to that school. This was before the pandemic. They decided that it was a terrible school. I don't know where that came from. I guess they said it was crazy, too busy, dirty, and just not an environment that they wanted me to be in. Obviously, that really upset me, you know? For 6 years, I had known I was going to go to that school, be with all my friends, and not get separated. So I was thinking, well, where can I go? There was this other school that was a little nicer that my sister had toured when she's older than me. She had toured it, and I remember seeing the school and just loving it, falling in love with it. And I still knew a lot of people that were going there. It was still inside our school district. So, obviously, when people from that middle school came to my 5th grade class and gave us a presentation about the school, I fell in love again. And I said, well, if I can't go to the big main one that everyone's going to, at least I can go to this one. So naturally, I filled out an application. I think I did it by myself, and I was 10 or 11 at the time, so that was a pretty big deal. But my parents let me. So I talked to them about it, got their signatures, whatever I needed, and they both said it was going to work. They both said it was a good idea. Now, during this time, since my mom and my sister really didn't like that other main school, they actually both transferred to this tiny little school. So my mom was teaching and my sister was a student. It was this tiny little charter school that was outside of the school district, and we didn't know anyone there. But I was a very, very much a social butterfly at that age. I am pretty social now, but at that age, I was like, I knew everyone, and everyone knew me. um, so they went to that school, that small little one. Didn't think anything of it until they asked me to do a shadow day there. I had two old friends that I didn't communicate with that much, but our parents were still in pretty good contact. And they said, "Hey, go shadow your two friends over there," which were they were siblings. So I thought, okay, sure, because I it was just I would just basically take one day off from my normal school and go over to them. It was some random Wednesday. So, that was exciting for me. And I just said, sure, with no actual intentions of permanently going there. They told me, they gave me a little notepad and a pen and told me to take different notes on things that I observed about it. If I liked it, if I didn't like it. And obviously, I really didn't like it. I remember it didn't have windows. It didn't have what did it not have? It didn't have windows. It wasn't like a normal school. It felt dark and it was a converted like it wasn't your normal school. It was just this little charter school. Um, and I'm pretty sure I heard this from a couple people. Don't know if it's true, but the rumor is that it was the building that they use for it now was actually an old strip mall. So it wasn't your normal school, and that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be regular. I wanted to see like the sports teams, which they didn't have there. And also on the same campus, sixth grade was the only thing they had there. And then the younger, like elementary in sixth. So I would be going to this campus where everyone was already established because it was almost no one's first year there, and then go to a different campus. It was just a whole thing, and I hated it. So I took my notes, didn't like it at all, gave them to my parents, came home, and there was a letter for me in the mailbox, of course. I had gotten accepted to the other school that I really wanted to go to, and I thought it was so cool. The one that I had been obsessed with when I saw my sister take a tour of it, the one that they gave a really awesome presentation of it at my school and I was just so in love with. I got an acceptance letter and I was so excited. I remember I gave it to my parents and they were like, "Oh, wow, you got in." And I thought that was telling me, "Yes, you can go." And I knew a lot of people there. Well, shortly after all that excitement, they said, "Actually, we want you to go to the school that you took a shadow day of," which was the same one that my mom and sister worked at, but they were at like uh, the other campus, and I broke down. 10 years old, on the floor, screaming, sobbing. I so vividly remember like sitting on my bed, talking to my mom, begging her not to make me go there because I hated it so much. And I didn't know anyone that was going there, and all of my friends were going to the other schools. It was just bad. And not only that, it was going to be hard for me to get myself in there socially because everyone already knew each other. I just knew I was not going to like it. And I broke down, and my parents didn't really care. It didn't seem like they considered even what I wanted and how I felt in my social life. But of course, months later, I ended up going there. The thing about that, which is kind of flash forward, now I am back in the same district that my school was in and the one that I wanted to go to for middle school. So, spoiler, I spent all 3 years at that little school. And it's sad because there's so many people that I haven't seen since fifth grade just because my parents made that choice for me. So, obviously, I was upset. And also, my summer was almost a month shorter than it was supposed to be because their school year was different. So that's just how it ended up being. It was terrible. During that same time, my parents were separated, and obviously, it was just an awkward time. So it was stressful for me. Obviously, it's been resolved now. That was so many years ago, but it was just an awkward time. I just had a lot going on emotionally, socially. So when I started that school, I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anyone. It wasn't what I wanted. It just was so not fun and just so uncomfortable, awkward for me. I really, really hated it. I mean, I just did. It wasn't my thing. I remember I told myself I was leaving. I was going to leave so soon. I was thinking I can convince my parents I'll be out of here in a month, but I did not. I was not able to. So I remember I got assigned to do a project with this one kid, and I think he wanted to just wanted my name and stuff, and I said, and I just assumed like no, and I was like, don't worry, you don't have to do it at all. I'll just do it. Don't even bother, and don't even bother trying to be my friend, because I was like no, I didn't want to even try to make friends there because I just decided that that was not a possibility. It makes me laugh thinking about it because I'm sure I was very sharp, you know. Somehow we ended up being friends though. We did end up being friends after that. I mean, that was like my best friend in 6th grade. Anyways, let me get back to where I was. For the first year though, that school was hell for me. I mean, everyone knew each other. Everyone was in their own friend groups and I knew no one's name. It was awkward and I didn't even get to meet that many people because they were still on the elementary school schedule where we had all of our classes with the same group of kids. And then we would just have one where we switched out with a different class. So it wasn't, I didn't get to meet anyone. I was just stuck with the same people that were all friends. And that was so awkward for me. I remember I had my first i- interactions with people that identified differently and I didn't know what that meant. I didn't, there were a lot of people that used like different pronouns at that time and I just didn't get it. I didn't understand and that automatically made me like the kind of the odd one out for a lot of demographics cuz I just didn't understand it and I tried to and I wanted to and I did. I ended up getting it, but like I just didn't get it when someone would be like tell me their pronouns or something like that. That was, that's what it was. So that made me definitely scared and uncomfortable and concerned. But I think I really wanted to try to make friends there once I realized I wasn't going to be able to leave for at least a while. But I was really, really, really bullied. I mean, I didn't really know what to do. I mean, I had a hard time. I remember, I mean, I, I definitely I took it took me a long time to grow. Um, I didn't hit my first growth spurt for quite a while until I was 13 maybe. So at that time when I had started at 11 years old, it was I was shorter than everyone and I hadn't really grown into my own skin, so I was decently chubby and I remember so many people making comments about that. This was also just after the height of the pandemic. This was 2021, like fall 2021, we had started school. And I just remember people would call me like chubby and stuff. And then at one point in October of that year, so just a few months into the school year, I got COVID. And I got COVID didn't tell anyone because I knew I would be the talking point and I did not want that. Everyone, almost everyone in the class had to quarantine because of me, and I was so embarrassed. And people made fun of me for it. I remember my throat was so hurt and my body was just so done. I've had COVID a couple times. That was my first, I think, my first time, I want to say, and it was terrible. I was bedridden. I couldn't move. And I couldn't move. I couldn't eat. I could barely drink anything. So I was on a diet of like applesauce and lemonade for a week and a half. And in that week and a half, I lost, I think, 8 or 9 pounds. And obviously, with the insecurities I had just gotten from all, like, so many people making fun of my weight, I I didn't really take notice to it until when I finally recovered and I came back. I had multiple people told me like, "You look so much healthier, like you've lost some weight," and I was like obsessed with it. So that immediately got stored in the back of my mind, that which I'm not gonna talk about where that ended up going on this episode, but I'll definitely talk about it in a different episode. Um, but that got stored in the back of my mind. So keep in mind if you plan on coming back to this podcast. So that was embarrassing to have COVID and everyone had to get quarantined because of me and everyone found out it was me somehow. That was terrifying. And then I remember I had this teacher who she oh, the rule there too. My big At that age I got a gift, um I think every year at like starting a new school year I got a cool gift. It had to be school related, but that year I got this really cool Nike backpack. I wanted so bad. I still have it. It's like this high quality black athlete's bag, and it's a decent size too. It was it's such a nice bag, and I was so excited to have it for 6th grade. I was like, I'm going into 6th grade with my new backpack. And then I found out that that school had certain teachers enforced it more than others. They didn't allow backpacks because they said they were fire hazards. So, on my first English class that I had there, I also didn't know how to use the locker. I I was trying to get it into the locker, force it in the locker, this little locker, this big giant like athlete's backpack from Nike. And my teacher and the lockers were lining the wall of her classroom. My teacher comes out of her classroom when I was late for class, which freaked me out too because I couldn't get it in the locker. She wouldn't let me in with the backpack. She came out and she said that heard me trying to close my locker and it was far too loud and it was distracting the class. And I was trying so hard not to break down in tears because I was so embarrassed and just hurt by her insensitivity that I was feeling. And she said, I remember she said, "Where are you supposed to be?" And I said, "Your class." And she said, "Oh, go to the principal's office now." I didn't understand. I was thinking, why am I getting sent to the principal's office? I still don't understand. But yeah, just because I couldn't get my backpack in on the first day, I didn't even know who the principal was. So I just looked for someone's office and I found our school counselor who was just on campus that day. And I asked her if she was the principal, and she said, "No, but I can help you with what you need." And trying to keep my tears back, I explained to her, I am late for my first English class. I got asked to leave because my backpack can't fit in my locker. And she tried to help me. And I don't even think it fit. I think I ended up having to just set it in her room and carrying all my books. I didn't understand that policy at all. I don't, and I still don't. Like fire hazard, backpack, you know, whatever. But that definitely sucked. And obviously, everyone found out too because when I entered the room, they realized that I was the one out there, the new kid who, like, no one knew my face or my name. It was genuinely terrifying. I always felt like all eyes were on me. I was so heavily bullied that year. I didn't have very many friends, and if I did, they were super two-faced. I'm thinking of this other thing that happened. Um, the next incident was well, we wore uniforms there. Like we had the uniforms that had the school logo embroidered, and once in a while we got dress down days, which was super cool. I was never like a fashion guru, but I love to wear a good outfit, and just I thought it was a cool way to express myself and see people's outfits and just like whatever. I thought it was going to be a cool way to get myself out there. So I found out about it a couple weeks in advance. I told my dad, and he helped me pick out this really cool outfit that kind of I felt like it defined me when in the past I didn't have a lot of outfits that defined me, just whatever my mom had picked out. And I think it was like a brown sweater with a white collar, and it was like coffee brown, and then it had a white strip, and then I had these really cool brown like sweat. No, I think they were corduroys. I had brown corduroys, yes. And I loved my outfit so much, and I also got these brand new Nike shoes. I think I wasn't just excited for myself. My dad was excited for me too because he knew like this could be a good opportunity, like it just was a way to get people to like see what I wear, see what other people wear, and just maybe connect in that and make some friends. So in the morning, if you got there before the bell rang, you had to sit on the floor. So everyone's sitting on the floor, and I got there maybe 2 minutes before the bell rang, and I walked in the door and walked down the hallway, and everyone's like on the floor looking at me, and my class was at the other end of the hallway. So I start walking down, and there were about 100 kids, so everyone could fit in the hallway at the same time. And I remember looking down, and so many people started just like laughing at me, just sitting there laughing, and I was like I didn't understand it, and I didn't bring my phone to school at that time because it was like strictly banned in 6th grade. So if I could have, I would have texted my dad. They told me I looked like a coffee cup. I remember that because I had the brown and then like the white, which they said looked like creamer. And I tried to make something light of it. I was like, "Oh, I love coffee," and they were like, "No, it looks dumb as hell." And I was freaking out. And they were all cursing at me too with their laughs. And, you know, I, that was not easy as well because I was not someone that cursed at all. I did not curse at all until I was 13 or 14. So I didn't know what to do. I was thinking if I cry in front of them, it's just gonna it's not gonna it's just gonna make it worse, and I can't call my dad. I don't remember what I did. I think I just tried to pull myself together. But I was really, really insecure about my appearance for a long, long time. And I mean, it got better. So, but that was probably the worst of it. I looked so different from everyone there. All the boys in my school, they were sporty, and they had the same like fluffy hair. They just had the same, and they were all friends too, and they all had known each other for years and years and years. And and they all had these and I just remember I just felt like a nerd. Like I can't believe I wore this out. They had the shoes and they had the socks. Like they all had Nike, and they had these necklaces. And I would try to get my dad to beg me to buy whatever they had, like whatever I saw them wear. And I remember, I mean, I had during the pandemic, I just randomly got curly hair. My hair just started curling. It just happened, and I just felt like the odd one out. I think, like the only boy with curly hair. I think I was the only mixed boy. I had glasses. I remember I hated the big gap in my teeth. I was super chubby. I was just so embarrassed. I felt so uncomfortable with everything. And then I would try to talk to the other boys because for a while all of my friends were girls, which, that wasn't helpful, obviously, with the bullying and mocking and whatever. But I tried really hard to get along with them, but they didn't. They would get into it. Like they wouldn't want to talk to me. They would just say things to me like if I talk to anyone like also them something really big in 6th grade. Everyone everyone who I introduced myself to and tried to be friends with would ask me if I was gay. That made me so uncomfortable and so sick because at that age, like, and not really now either, but like, I didn't have crushes. Like, I wasn't like, no, I was like, no, I'm not. And then they told me I was lying. And then I made a friend, this girl she was pretty nice. Well, she seemed to be nice, but she ended up kind of joining the crowd with the bullying in the end of everything. But she I kind of bonded with her really quickly, and we also had assigned seats at lunch. So I sat with her at lunch, and she asked me, "Are you gay?" And I said to her, like, "No, I'm not. I don't understand. Like, why does everyone think that? Is it the way I look? Is it my weight? Is it the way I talk? Is like I don't understand. Why does everyone think that about me? I was 11, and everyone's asking me if I'm gay, and I didn't, I had never even met a gay person at that age. It was bad. And she said, "I don't know what it is. It's just a vibe. Like you just have that gay energy." And I was like, "What?" It was like I didn't know what to say, I tried to change so many things about myself just to not come off that way. And honestly, my insecurities were like so heightened at that age, and they really shouldn't have been because I couldn't, you know, I didn't get to do what I wanted to do at that age and restricted myself so much with the fun and the energy and the social things I could have done just because of that. Nothing I did could make me feel confident and nothing I did could make me feel comfortable. But that one friend that I met on the first day and told him like I didn't want to meet, I was like don't bother even telling me your name cuz I planned on trying to get out of that school. We actually ended up becoming really good friends. And I remember, I just remember we got into a super big fight because I thought we were best friends. And then it was something dumb, 6th grade. Like he told people that he didn't have any best friends. And I just freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, this is tragic. But yeah, there's that. You guys, okay, so I'm trying to get to my points. Here's where it starts getting really, really bad. I wanted so badly to be everyone's friend and to meet everyone and to make people like me. I would watch TikToks and YouTube videos about how to make friends and how to get people to like you. It was bad. It was so bad. I felt like I couldn't speak, or I would get mocked. They told me my voice was too light and I just was like, I don't know, like how do I deepen my voice? Um so what I did is I talked to my dad and I think he said, "Hey, why don't you have some friends over for Christmas, like a Christmas party, not on Christmas, and just see if you can get to know people?" And I was like, "Yes, I think that's a great idea." I was a little hesitant, but I just thought, why not just do it? Screw it. So I printed out these little invites I made, put them all nice in envelopes. My house, 7:30, I think it was December 12th or something like that, 2021. I was so excited, but you know, I didn't want just people in my class to be there. I wanted to have a little outreach. So if I would pass someone in the hallway like super quickly from class to class, just pass some random person in the hallway and just say, "Hey, do you want to come to my party?" and just give them the thing. So yeah, I planned the party, set the date for like a month after I gave out the invites. Between that time, I really wanted to be perceived as popular and like be associated with those people and not just be some like loser. And then there was this one kid that I was just like chatting with him, and somehow he was like telling me about like who's the most popular, like because the school was like small. I mean, 100 people in the grade, maybe less. I don't even think 100 people in the sixth grade class. And he told me like there's like a list, like we all have a list of who's the most popular, and obviously it's like number one and then whatever, and I was like, where am I on it? And then he was he told me he was like, you're getting up there, I might put you at like 15. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, 15. Because I tried to introduce myself to everyone, even if they made fun of me. I gave them things, so everyone knew my name. So I don't think it was really popularity. I think it was just like everyone ended up knowing me, and I was super nice to everyone, and obviously invited people who I barely knew to my house. But I was really trying to figure out where to like find myself and who to hang out with, because there were so many different groups, and I felt like I felt like I felt like inclined to hang out with like a certain race almost, because and I thought like I cuz like but I was mixed, like I didn't really know what to do. But that did not work at all, because, everyone still does. Everyone assumes I'm Hispanic. I don't know why. I mean, I guess I kind of look Hispanic, but like I don't personally like I wouldn't guess I was Hispanic if I met myself. But, you know, now that I'm in high school, I've had countless people just come up to me and start speaking Spanish. It's like, and I'm like, no. So that situation never worked out. So it comes to the day of the party. I had set up the house. My sister was in her room downstairs. My dad was in the kitchen. We were going to order pizza. It was just going to be super fun. And my dad generously was going to pay for any snacks, games, drinks, whatever, food, because he knew that this could be really helpful for me. Well, I didn't really tell him how many invites I sent out. I didn't think about it either. People start coming, and it got to a point where it was like 10 people, which I think was what he expected. And then he looked at me as like 15 more people came. So it ended up being about 25 people, half of which who I barely knew. And it was honestly crazy, like a ton of 11-year-olds running around my house, screaming, pizza, drinks. It was crazy. And it was freezing, and it started to rain, but people wanted to go outside. And my dad was like, don't go outside, don't go outside. But people went outside in the freezing rain. And we were freaked out that we were going to lose kids. And some parents stayed too. So that was crazy, you know? But I think I loved the concept of it, because even like people were crazy. My sister, someone went into my sister's bathroom somehow upstairs and like smeared pizza all over her bathroom. Apparently, it was insane. But I loved it because people who were there knew my name. People who weren't there knew my name because they wanted to know my name, and they wanted me to know their name, and they wanted to come to whatever the next one was. So I thought that was cool. And then I remember someone went into my room, took all my shoes out of my closet, and took all the shoelaces out of them. People just did the most random things, and I don't know who did what. Then I found out that like the friend group I really wanted to be in had a group chat, and one of the girls in it was there, and I begged her to put me in it, which obviously I realize now, like, that doesn't really mean anything, but at the time, I was thinking it would be, like, the coolest thing ever if I could be in the group chat. And I literally spent 30 minutes begging her before I think I ended up literally paying her to put me in it, which was I can't believe that. But yeah, there were a lot of crazy people there. Like, I could be wrong, but I think at least two people that were there ended up going to juvie for something. I don't know. Like, that was like insane, and that's not me at all. I love having friends over, but not like that. Not like that. Well, I did that. Party ended, and then it was winter break. My dad was mad at me, but he knew that it helped me a lot because I basically just wrecked his house, like broken things, everything destroyed, took hours and hours to clean. And yeah, what I just can't even think about it because it was just an insane party. Well, like Christmas break happened, and then came back from that in January. And we were only back for like a week, but during that week, everyone was talking to me. Like, I had so many people saying, "Why didn't you invite me?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, I've never met you. I'm sorry. Like, I did what I could. Like, having to just pass out invites in the hallway to people I didn't know just to get them to come." So after a week, there was apparently a major COVID outbreak, and we ended up going online. And we were online for, I think, a few weeks. So that was not good at all for me. It didn't help me. Like, I just wasn't happy with it. Um, I was just doing school online. And I think my sister was already doing online school during that time. So it wasn't really a change for her, but we were together now. And she could just see that I was like super sad, I think. And at the time, she was what? I'm trying to think how old she was. 13, 14 maybe. So she was trying to help, and one time she put like all these like affirmations around my room, and there was that. But you know, and I argued with my dad a lot. Like, my dad and I would have these crazy fights, and then I would just like I didn't at the time, like, I wasn't in any kind of counseling or therapy, and I had a really hard time with like regulating my emotions and calming down. So I remember I would just go into like my shower or like my closet, or just like there was a time where I could fit under the sink, but there's a point, and I would just like hide for hours, just like in the darkness, just like trying to breathe, because if I saw anything, I just like wouldn't be able to breathe, and it was so bad. It was so bad, and I was just insecure about everything, and I just felt like no one understood. Well, then we went back to school. And I just felt like I had nobody, I didn't have friends. Everyone just made fun of me. It was bad. And shortly after we went back, maybe 2 weeks, it was my birthday. And on my birthday, I got to dress down, and I put together a different outfit and walked in. I This time it was like, I think they told me I looked like a hamburger or something. I remember, like, I don't know what it was, but every time I wore an outfit, some like people compared it to some food item. Like, I don't know why. That's just like a thing. Ooh, sorry. And I remember, I definitely I have a photo somewhere in my phone that I should post on like Instagram or something. But I put together this outfit that I was so excited for, and I posted like birthday fit ready to go, and then I wore it, and I got so made fun of. It was so bad. I shouldn't be laughing. It was not a good moment. And then, but I went, and the plan was to just go for a few hours, and then, you know, my dad was gonna pick me up. I got an early dismissal, so I went. I did it. But what happened was, like, I'm just sitting, like, I sat in the corner of the classroom and just unsuspectingly, I liked my outfit, but still, and I didn't think I had anyone, like, I didn't think anyone cared that was my birthday, but I was just trying to be there and just, like, show up, and a couple people that did care, they cared, which was cool. But then the whole class looked at me and the teacher, and they sung me happy birthday. And I just broke down in tears, sobbing in front of the class, which was so embarrassing. But they were kind of tears of joy, maybe like tears of hope in a way, because I was like, wow, like there's some people that actually care about me. They're singing happy birthday. And no one understood why I was crying. They were like, "Why are you crying? Why are you crying?" I think they thought I was embarrassed or something, but no, I was just really grateful. And I I was just sitting in the corner of the room sobbing, and they were saying happy birthday. And yeah, then I went home, had my birthday dinner, whatever, whatever. And yeah, that is why I sobbed on my 12th birthday in front of my whole class. Well, that's over 40 minutes, so I did pretty good with my first episode, I think. Let me know what you guys think. My Instagram is Grayson Hughes, and you're listening to the Capability Pod. I'm excited for future episodes to come, and I hope that you come back. If you have any suggestions or anything, just let me know on Instagram, I guess. I'll do like a chat box or something like that. But thank you guys so much for listening to my first episode. If you made it to this point, it means so much that you did. And thank you. I hope to see you, or, well, I hope to see you and you hear me soon. Thanks.